You can't live your life repeating the same cycle and expect a different outcome. Sooner or later, you've got to break the pattern before the pattern breaks you. Because let me tell you something. Patterns are powerful. They shape how you think, how you move, how you respond, how you believe. They wrap themselves around your habits, your emotions, your decisions, and they whisper, "This is just who you are." But that's a lie. It's not who you are. It's who you settled to be. You've been living on autopilot, stuck in routines that no longer serve your destiny, doing what's familiar instead of what's fruitful. And if you're not careful, what was once a choice will become a chain. There comes a point when you have to interrupt your own rhythm. You got to challenge your own comfort. Because the same pattern that got you here cannot take you there. The same thinking that built your yesterday cannot construct your tomorrow. And so many people are frustrated, not because they don't have potential, but because they are loyal to patterns that limit it. You keep revisiting the same places expecting new results. You keep rehearsing the same excuses expecting new outcomes. You keep surrounding yourself with the same voices expecting new revelation. But nothing changes until something is disrupted. Disruption isn't destruction, it's transformation. God never called you to repeat cycles. He called you to break them. The moment you decide to step out of what's predictable, you give heaven permission to open what's possible. But you've got to be bold enough to disrupt the norm. You've got to look that generational pattern in the face and say, "It stops with me." Maybe it's the way your family always handled money, the way your people always handled pain, the way your circle always handled conflict. And here you are, repeating history because it's all you've known. But when destiny knocks on your door, it doesn't care what's comfortable. It calls you to confront the pattern that's been running your life in the background. Some of you have been living in a loop. You're moving, but not advancing. You're busy, but you're not productive. You're repeating, not reinventing. And it's because you're operating in the safety of a system you outgrew. Growth doesn't live in safety. It thrives in disruption. You can't birth a new version of yourself while holding hands with your old mindset. You can't embrace transformation and still protect your tradition. That's why so many people miss the shift. They're too loyal to what was to make room for what's next. You've got to break the pattern before the pattern breaks you. Because if you don't interrupt it, it will interrupt you. It will break your peace. It will break your purpose. Break your purpose. It will break your potential. Some of you are being broken right now, not because you're under attack, but because your old system can't handle the new season. You're experiencing the pain of a pattern that's expiring. That's why it hurts so much. It's not punishment, it's pressure. The pressure to change, the pressure to think differently, the pressure to move differently. The truth is, many of us would rather stay in bondage to what's familiar than step into freedom that's unknown. We cling to broken patterns because they give us control. But control without growth is captivity. The more you try to manage the familiar, the more it manages you. There are some blessings that won't meet you until you break that cycle. You're praying for overflow, but still thinking like survival. You're asking for new doors, but walking in old habits. You want divine expansion, but you keep shrinking your faith to fit your comfort zone. You cannot disrupt the world around you until you disrupt the world within you. Disruptive thinking starts inside. It's when your mind begins to question, why not? Why can't I do something different? Why can't I think on another level? Why can't I dream bigger than where I came from? Why can't I be the one who changes the pattern in my family? Because the real war isn't external. It's in your thoughts. Every pattern starts with thought. And the enemy loves to attack your mind because if he can keep your thoughts small, your life will stay small. You'll dress the part. You'll talk the part. You'll quote the right words, but deep inside, your thinking still lives in captivity. It's not what you go through that keeps you stuck. It's how you think about it. Some people went through hell and came out with revelation, while others went through the same hell and came out bitter. The difference wasn't the fire, it was the frame. It was the frame. One saw it as defeat, the other saw it as direction. That's why disruptive thinking is so dangerous to limitation. It reframes your experience. It says, I might have failed, but I learned. It says they may have rejected me, but they redirected me. It says, that season wasn't wasted, it was working. It was working. That's how you break a pattern, by changing the story you tell yourself about it. When you start to think disruptively, You begin to realize that what felt like an ending was really an awakening. That closed door wasn't a rejection. It was divine redirection. Right. That setback wasn't a sign to quit. It was an invitation to shift. And sometimes God will allow your pattern to collapse just to get your attention. You thought it was falling apart, but it was really falling into place. Because as long as you're comfortable, you won't change. As long as you're in control, you won't grow. Disruptive thinking doesn't ask, what can I lose? It asks, what can I gain if I dare to think differently? You've got to be willing to offend your comfort zone. You've got to be willing to look foolish before you look fruitful. The ones who change the world are the ones who dare to be misunderstood for a moment. Every innovator, every visionary, every trailblazer had to face the same question. Will I stay loyal to the pattern or step into the promise? Because disruption never feels safe. It will make you question yourself, your timing, your decisions. But if you can hold your ground when everything in you wants to retreat, you'll find that disruption leads to destiny. You may not understand it right now. You may not see the full picture. But don't curse the shaking, thank God for it. Because shaking means something's shifting. The old is making room for the new. The familiar is being replaced with the fruitful. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. The chaos you feel is not your end, it's your evolution, so let it shake. Let it stir. Let it stretch you. Because the pattern that once protected you has now become the prison that confines you. It's time to break it. Don't wait until life forces you to change. Change willingly. Don't wait until the pattern costs you everything. Break it now. You may have inherited a mindset, but you don't have to pass it on. You may have walked in certain cycles, but you don't have to die in them. You can be the interruption in your bloodline. You can be the one who says, oh, no more. No more small thinking. No more fear-based living. No more shrinking to fit into spaces I've outgrown. I was created for more, and I'm gonna think, move, and live like it. It's time to break the pattern. It's time to disrupt the system that told you what you could or couldn't be. Because the greatest enemy to your next level is your last comfort. You've been trained to think within the walls of what's possible, but real transformation happens when you dare to step beyond them. The old way of thinking may have built your foundation, but it cannot sustain your future. You've got to unlearn what limits you and relearn what liberates you. And relearn what liberates you. Because when you break the pattern, you release the power. Don't let fear of the unknown make you a prisoner of the predictable. What if the blessing is on the other side of your disruption? What if the opportunity you've been praying for is waiting for you to think differently? What if everything you've ever wanted is just beyond the walls of the pattern you're afraid to break? The only way to find out is to move, to step, to shift. Shift. To trust that even when it feels uncertain, God's hand is still steady. Break the pattern before the pattern breaks you. Because you weren't created to repeat history. You were created to make it. Growth requires discomfort and disruption. You cannot evolve in an environment that pampers your comfort. Nothing significant has ever been born in ease. Every breakthrough is birthed through pressure. Every new level is announced by discomfort. You can't pray for elevation and still want the luxury of staying where it's safe. Because growth is not a gift you receive. It's a process you endure. And that process will stretch you, shake you, and sometimes even scare you. But it's in that stretching where you discover your strength. It's in that shaking where you find your stability. It's in that disruption where you meet your destiny. We love the idea of growth, but we hate the reality of it. We want the harvest, but not the heat. We want the promise, but not the process. We want success, but we don't want the seasons that build it. The truth is, comfort will always call your name louder than purpose. Comfort says, stay where it's familiar, don't take the risk, don't try again. But destiny whispers, if you can handle the discomfort, I can show you who you were always meant to be. Growth doesn't come from what feels good. It comes from what challenges you. If everything in your life feels easy, it's a sign you're not evolving. Because real growth will offend your habits, confront your mindset, and interrupt your routine. Disruption isn't punishment. It's promotion. When life starts shaking, it's not falling apart, it's rearranging for your next level. You can't build new structure on old systems. So sometimes God allows things to be disrupted not to destroy you, but to develop you. Because there are lessons you can't learn in comfort. There's faith you can't discover and control. There's strength you can't access until life pushes you out of your comfort zone. Growth always demands an exit from the old version of you, from the old way you think, from the old way you see yourself. You can't pray for transformation and still cling to your comfort zone. There's no progress without pressure. Every great thing in life was born out of struggle. Look at the seed. It must break before it grows. The caterpillar must dissolve before it becomes a butterfly. The clay must be crushed before it's shaped into something beautiful. The fire must refine the gold before it shines. That's the process of growth. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, it's uncertain, but it's necessary. Because if it doesn't stretch you, it won't strengthen you. So many people stop growing because they misinterpret discomfort as comfort as danger. The moment they feel the stretch, they assume something's wrong. But discomfort isn't a sign of defeat. It's a sign of development. When you start feeling uncomfortable, it means the old version of you can't contain what's emerging inside you. It means you're outgrowing your surroundings. That frustration you feel isn't failure. It's your soul saying, there's more in me than this. The problem is we've been trained to retreat when things get hard. But growth requires you to stay planted even when it hurts. If the soil could talk, it would tell you that growth isn't glamorous. It's dark, it's lonely, it's silent. But in that hidden place, roots are forming. In that unseen space, you're developing the foundation for everything that's coming. You might not see the fruit yet, but the growth is happening. The disruption is working in your favor. That's why you can't quit just because you're uncomfortable. You can't let pain make you pack up when you're this close to breakthrough. Every storm that comes to shake you also comes to shape you. Every closed door that frustrates you is really redirecting you. You've got to stop asking for growth and then complaining about the growing pains. You've got to stop asking for strength and then resenting the struggle that builds it. You've got to stop asking for increase and then resisting the inconvenience that prepares you for it. Growth doesn't come to please you. It comes to prepare you. Preparation never feels good, but it's always worth it. If you can endure the discomfort, you'll step into a capacity you didn't know you had. You'll look back at seasons that once broke you and realize they were building you. Some of you are frustrated because life isn't fitting like it used to. You're trying to squeeze into spaces you've outgrown. You're trying to hold on to relationships, habits, and patterns that no longer serve your purpose. But you can't carry old weight into a new season. You've got to let go to grow. Growth means surrender. Surrendering control, surrendering comfort, surrendering the need to understand everything before you move. You'll never be ready for growth until you're willing to be uncomfortable. Think about the farmer. He disrupts the soil before he plants the seed. He breaks the ground so it can receive something greater. That disruption is violent, it's messy, it's invasive, but it's necessary because the soil cannot produce what it refuses to be disturbed for. The same goes for you. You can't produce new fruit if you won't allow God to disturb your ground. You can't birth new dreams if you won't let go of old disappointments. Growth requires that you trust the disruption even when it doesn't make sense. When you start to think disruptively, you begin to see discomfort as divine. You stop running from the storm and start learning from it. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what's this growing in me? Because every storm carries a seed. Every trial carries a teaching. Every loss carries a lesson. Growth doesn't happen in the sunshine. It happens in the struggle. It's when life gets hard that you truly discover what's in you. So if life feels like it's stretching you right now, don't resist it. Don't curse the season that's challenging you. It's proof that you're evolving. You're not stuck. You're being shaped. You're not being broken. You're being built. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable because destiny is rearranging you for your next assignment. When you embrace the discomfort, you take control of your growth. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start walking in purpose. You realize that disruption doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to deliver you. Growth and comfort can't coexist. One will always push the other out. So if you really want to grow, you've got to make peace with being uncomfortable. You've got to learn to worship through the stretch, to praise through the pressure, to trust through the turbulence. Because when you look back, you'll realize that every painful push was positioning you for greater purpose. Growth is not easy, but it's always essential. So when disruption comes, don't shrink. Stand when discomfort comes, don't run. Rise. Because on the other side of that stretch is your strength, your expansion, your transformation. Growth requires discomfort and disruption, but the reward is freedom. Vision demands you to think beyond the box that built you. The box may have protected you once, but now it's limiting you. The box is the structure of your past, your habits, your upbringing and your fears, your experiences, your doubts. It's everything that shaped how you see the world and yourself. But there comes a moment, what once sustained you begins to suffocate you. The box that gave you identity can become the cage that steals your imagination. And if you're going to walk in vision, you've got to have the courage to step outside the box that raised you. Vision never fits inside boundaries built by fear. It doesn't operate in comfort zones, and it doesn't wait for permission. Vision calls you to look where others won't, to believe what others can't, to do what others say is impossible. But as long as you keep trying to make vision fit inside the box of logic, tradition, or people's opinions, you'll never see what's truly possible. You can't fulfill a divine purpose while thinking with a limited mind. You can't dream of a new horizon while staring at the walls of old limitations. Some of you are living beneath your potential because you've been trained to think inside your environment. You've adapted to the size of the box you were born in. The neighborhood, the family, the system, the circle, they taught you how far you could go, how much you could dream, what you could believe. But vision isn't shaped by where you came from, it's pulled by where you're going. Vision doesn't consult your background, it challenges it. It says, I know you've never seen it before, but you can be it. I know no one in your family has done it, but you can break it. I know it doesn't make sense right now, but it doesn't have to. It's not logic, it's vision. You cannot carry a big vision with a small mindset. You've got to let your mind expand to the level of your assignment, because vision will always outgrow your current capacity. It will stretch your thinking, test your faith, and demand your evolution. That's why some people walk away when you start to dream big. They can't handle your expansion. They're still thinking inside the box while you're building beyond it. And if you're not careful, you'll shrink your dream to make others comfortable. But every time you shrink, you insult the vision that was placed in you. You were never meant to fit in, you were meant to stand out. Thinking beyond the box means daring to believe that more is possible. It means looking at the chaos around you and still seeing potential. No. It means refusing to let past failures dictate your future possibilities. The box represents what's predictable, what's proven, what's safe. But vision thrives in the unknown. It calls you to step into places that have no blueprint, to walk by faith and not by sight. And that's the scary part, because we love the box. The box gives us control. The box gives us structure. But the same walls that keep you safe will also keep you small. When God gives you vision, He doesn't ask if you're comfortable. He asks if you're willing. Because vision always starts where logic ends. It asks you to see a building when there's only dirt. It asks you to believe in healing when you still feel broken. It asks you to trust the plan when you can't trace the process. Thinking beyond the box means looking at nothing and still seeing something. It means standing in the valley and seeing victory. It means believing that what's in you is greater than what's around you. But here's the challenge. Vision is lonely. When you start thinking beyond the box, people will misunderstand you. They'll call you unrealistic. They'll call you crazy. They'll say you've changed. And they're right. You have. Because vision changes your vocabulary. It changes your focus. It changes your circle. You can't think big while hanging around people who glorify small. You can't expand your faith while entertaining conversations rooted in fear. Thinking beyond the box will cost you comfort, but it'll reward you with clarity. You've got to guard your vision like it's sacred, because it is. Not everyone can see what you see. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. And that's okay. Stop explaining yourself to people who've never stepped outside their own box. Stop looking for validation from those who've never walked by faith. Vision requires isolation at times. You might have to walk alone, but you'll never walk empty. Every step of obedience builds the bridge to the future you saw when no one else did. Thinking beyond the box also means you have to redefine what's possible. Because sometimes the box isn't built by people, it's built by pain. Your past failures built walls around your faith. Your disappointments boxed in your belief. Every time something didn't work out, you built another layer of protection around your heart. But vision can't breathe behind those walls. It requires vulnerability. It requires the courage to try again, to dream again, to believe again even after you've been broken. The box tries to convince you that it's safer inside, but safety is the enemy of destiny. Every major breakthrough begins with a moment of risk. You can't play it safe and expect supernatural results. You've got to be willing to step into the unknown, to think differently, to act boldly. Do act boldly. The moment you decide to step outside that box, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. Doors you didn't even know existed start to open. Opportunities begin to align with your obedience, but it all starts with a decision to think differently. You can't see the next level until you stop thinking like the last one. You can't walk in abundance while thinking like scarcity. You can't build empires with a survival mindset. Thinking beyond the box is about renewal. It's about transforming your mind to match your mission. Every time your thoughts expand, your world does too. The problem isn't that your life is too small, it's that your thinking is. Your life will always rise or fall to the level of your thoughts. So challenge your thoughts. Confront your limits. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong about what I can't do? What if you've been limiting yourself to a box you were never meant to stay in? What if everything you've been praying for is waiting on you to shift your perspective? Because when you think beyond the box, you stop waiting for permission to be great. You start walking in it. You stop asking, can I? And start declaring, I will. The box that built you may have been necessary for your foundation, but it's not designed for your future. You've learned all you can from it. Now it's time to rise above it. Vision demands that you break it, rebuild it, and believe beyond it. Because the world doesn't need another person who fits inside expectations. It needs someone bold enough to exceed them. Someone who refuses to be confined by what's normal. Someone who dares to see possibility where others see limitation. You were never created to stay in the box. You were born to break it.